I didn't vote because I think it's unfinished business. I'm amazed at the number of people, including journalists, who talk about the bill without having read it. It's quite incredible that top journalists and many other people, commentators and so on, who have a great deal to say about the bill but have not read it. Partly this is to be explained by the fact that the bill has been changed a great deal. It has been they've been working on it for a year, and I myself had not read it until I'd read an early version but not read the recent version until a day before the Assembly debate.
And when you read it, you were unhappy?
Yes, I'm unhappy because of the inconsistency in the bill. For example, in the general principles, it says that these principles underpin the Act and will inform implementation and interpretation. Mm-hmm. And it says state information should be available and accessible to all persons. Mm-hmm. It says it's a basic human right. Mm-hmm. It promotes openness and responsiveness, mm-hmm. and it advocates the free flow of state information. Yeah. Wonderful principles about human rights and an open society. Mm-hmm. But then it goes on to very draconian measures. You know, it is 20 years, 15 years, 10 years, and so on. And it seems to me that the aspirations of the bill, which are absolutely laudable, are in conflict with some of the provisions at the end of it. And what alarms me most of all, because we can debate these issues, what alarms me is that different people are placing different interpretations on this legislation. Now, this is a tricky piece of legislation. It's very difficult. It's very emotional. It touches to the heart of our society. I think we should go forward and take more time and ensure that we all have the same understanding of the purposes of the bill. We cannot go ahead on this emotional wave where people are so hostile, many people so hostile. Indeed, the opposition is totally united. And it's the first time that I have seen in Parliament where every member of every opposition party voted against a piece of legislation. It never happened before. So, you know, clearly we need to be a little bit wiser, exercise a bit of judgment, exercise a bit more care about consultation. There is no urgency in this bill.
All right, let's bring in the chairman then of the ad hoc committee, Mr. Cecil Burges. You've heard what one of your senior MPs has had to say about this bill. What is your response?
Kolani, the professor is right. A number of people that are criticizing, talking about the bill, have not read the bill. I've traveled around the country. I've spoken to many people, organizations in recent times, and all of them you find have not read the bill. And when you explain what the bill is about, you see the change in attitude. So I think the professor makes a good point there. People that are criticizing the bill should actually go and read the thing, inform themselves. Regarding the professor's own views, those are ANC matters, and I'm not in a position to discuss those matters on the phone. All I can say is that the committee had almost 70 meetings. It had public hearings. The meetings were all open. The discussions that took place and the progression of the bill was widely publicized. You know, I had addressed caucus on many occasions on the progress of the bill. But the issues the professor is raising, I can't comment on that now.
But why not? Because these are seminal issues. These are issues that people are raising. For instance, you talk about people not reading the bill. Is it possible that even your own members may not have read, they may just have gone and voted for the bill that they actually have no idea what it's about?
You see, Kolani, if a piece of legislation goes through the Science and Technology Portfolio Committee regarding some exploration into space and you get into very specific terminologies, I too will have difficulty if I don't follow the process in the committee level with the terminologies that have been used. I mean, many of the bills that I look at that come on my desk from other committees are difficult to understand. You really have to apply your mind, and I can understand that people that have not followed the process, have not listened to the explanations, could have difficulties understanding the bill.
But here's my issue, Mr. Burgess. It's a critically important bill for this country. Therefore, as the professor points out, it was important and imperative that people take their time. Get your head around it, understand the intricacies, understand the contradictions that he's raising. I mean, he's talking about the general principles, and the general principles, I've got them right in front of me. They're noble principles. But again, if you go towards the back, that's when you see the punitive measures, and you say, wait a minute, but what of the general principles? Is that not important for the ANC to take time?
Sikolani, if you look at the bill and you haven't followed the process, you would get the impression perhaps a couple of people came together in the committee, just did some things, and now, whoops, there you have a bill. This thing has been based on very sound research, looking at the best practice all around the world. Those sentences and all the things, the offenses, are all things that was done on proper research, proper legal advice. Nothing there was just something that, we decided as an ANC, this is something that we need to put in.
Professor Habib, you wanted to make a point before the news headlines, please.
Yeah, I wanted to say two things. I think it's important to say that there are many people who haven't read the bill, and a lot of the debate is emotional and uninformed. But there are also many people who have read the bill and are critical of the bill. I have read this bill. I have gone through it from page 1 to the last page, and I am very critical of the bill. There are many human rights lawyers and activists who have read this bill and are very critical of the bill. So let's not be under the illusion that anybody who's not read this bill is critical of it, and all of the critics are uninformed. There are many informed critics about it. The second thing to say is that the ANC has managed this debate very badly, and there are two examples. One is the minister arguing all critics of the bill as foreign spies. I think that is an outrageous remark. The second is Cecil Burges himself blaming the media for not communicating the information on the bill. That's not the media's responsibility. It is the communication arm of Parliament. It is the communication arm of the ANC. If you believe this information has not got out, you should be asking, who are the people did you employ? Why were they not able to get this thing out? That's who should be held responsible for this. But I do want it to be very clear that there are many people who've read this bill and are critical of this bill.
Lily, I think this is why we need more debate, because what Cecil is doing and what the ANC has done is selectively read this bill. As the Right to Know campaign, we've been through every single sentence and clause. Let's take the classification review panel. If you read the bill, it's not a fully independent review panel. It actually is appointed partially by the Minister of State Security.
Yeah.
Also, it does not, there's no provision in there for direct oversight of decisions to classify. Where's the direct oversight being exercised, and where's the independent oversight being exercised? There's also no mechanism for public appeals to that review panel. It's a almost self-contained internal review panel. We have put all of those things on the board. We have participated in all of these processes that Cecil is talking about over the last year and a half. And yet we have been called alarmists. We have been said this is not international best practice. But what we have is we have a situation where the ANC, unfortunately, is telling its constituency and its public selective aspects of this bill. What actually clearly is, and there is much more to this debate, and that means that we need to have a much bigger and bigger audience to this debate. People need to be able to participate.
All right. So, in other words, what you're saying is that the classification review panel it does not equal, in your view, the work that the public interest defense would have done.
Correct. And then there's the other reason the ANC gives that they don't need a public interest defense is because we're protected by the Public Disclosures Act, for example. But if you read the Public Disclosures Act, you'll see that there is a possible contradiction there, which is that if in the Public Disclosures Act, it doesn't protect a release of classified information, where it's a criminal offense. So there are key issues here that are being left out, is what I'm saying.
Let's take some SMSs and calls here. Hear what people have got to say. There's an SMS from KZN that says, I have proof of corrupt collusion in tenders, consultants. How will I be assisted if this bill becomes Act. That SMS is just signed KZN. There's another one that says blacks will never know the truth about apartheid atrocities and compromise of struggle by the ANC, as this is still classified considering secrecy bill. Mlu in Pietermaritzburg. Posey says ANC restrict press freedom. Now openness of the bill fails the public. They blame media exposure. Why? That's according to Posey. Another one says ANC members in parliament have voted in favor of this bill just to have their jobs for the next term. Another one, there is clearly disrespect, arrogance and lack of care for South Africans by the ANC. Shame on you, says another SMS. Veli Mhlongo Kwamashu says, to me, this bill looks like another animal farm. Isaac in Pretoria says, if secrecy bill becomes a law, then the hawks must also be dissolved because we all want to benefit from this banana republic. There's an SMS that says, is it the media's job to inform properly? Without that, issues are hidden from us without laws. Secrecy bill, Adolf Hitler used same security reasons, protection of the fatherland, to pass draconian laws like this, protect the Hitler clique ad in Cape Town. Lots of SMSs, but let me take some calls as well. I'll start with Roy in Durban. Hello, Roy.
Hello.
Hi, welcome.
I'll be the first to concede that I haven't read the bill, but what concerns me is this. The ANC in the last 5 years has had a very bad track record. For instance, they closed the Scorpions down because they were chasing people in high places, and they replaced them by the Hawks. Secondly, I don't believe that jail sentences of 15, 20, and 25 years is appropriate, because you get less than that sometimes for murder. It seems draconian in the extreme. And those are my concerns, that we're trying to muzzle public opinion, and the ANC just want to keep their jobs, even though they're corrupt.
Okay, we'll get a response for you, Roy in Durban. Thank you. Castro is in Davidton. Hello, Castro.
Good morning, Golan.
Hi, welcome.
Yeah. Golan, it will be ludicrous to believe that this bill has never created a space for discussion. I'm concerned about the Professor Turok to say that he have read the final version a day before the voting, and yet you are told that there was no time to discuss this thing. If Professor Turok was indeed wanting to make input, he was supposed to read the final version long time as and when it becomes available, so that he can raise it with the chairperson of the ad hoc committee. But on the other side, the issue of media selectively reporting things also is a problem, because I agree with the chairperson of the ad hoc committee. Much as there's a criticism by the media of this bill, they were supposed to expose those they were supposed to expose those clauses, or rather the sections that they are against. They can't just come on public and tell us that they only want the public interest.
But Castro, I think also we must contextualize these things. In this program alone, I've done this 3 times. In this program alone, I've done the protection of information bill 3 times.
The opposition parties themselves, they needed to, I agree, possibly there are those opposition parties who have never read the bill. I don't know of the ANC members, but I can assure you that those people, they knew that they don't want the bill as it is, but they wanted to use the public interest clause and clause so that the public interest clause, so that they can have public sympathy to this bill.
Okay.
That is what they want to do. And I think what Professor Turok is doing, it's really undermining the majority of people that have voted. It's a high time that the ANC must use its majority there.
Okay,
we have not voted for the ANC. I want to come on record.
All right.
Because we believe in the ANC in doing these things. We are tired of being spied by the foreign agents, and we think it's a high time that the ANC must protect itself. Otherwise, this ANC will lose the power through the very same debates that are unnecessary.